Chapter 25. When the crowd saw Yin Yanshou's courteous look towards Yi Qing Luo and the rest, they couldn't help but started to guess their identities. Especially the young miss who had ridiculed Yi Qing Luo and the rest in order to please the two princesses earlier. Her face turned pale as she scolded the two princesses harshly in her heart. She also pushed this debt onto the two princesses. It was all their fault for not recognizing Mount Tai. They actually treated young sect masters' distinguished guests as people from small forces, causing them to humiliate the distinguished guests. Those who were able to enter Qinhua clan today, even the lowest status was a small force which had a place in the pugilistic world. Among the crowd, there were naturally many distinguished people. Not knowing if Yin Yanshou did it on purpose. Those few guards who were holding Lan Ling Nuo and Xiao Lingling stood rooted on the spot and didn't leave. They allowed the onlookers to point at them and snicker at them. Apparently, they wanted everyone to see Lan Ling Nuo and Xiao Lingling's embarrassing looks. Especially when there were many distinguished guests who had just entered Qinhua clan's residence, they couldn't help but ask about the reason when they saw this scene. 1 to 10, 10 to 100. The originally bustling Qinhua clan became even more lively. Even if there were people from the East Continent, when they walked past, they intentionally pretended that they didn't know the princess who was held up by the guards and had lost all her face. Since when had Lan Ling Nuo and Xiao Lingling suffered such humiliation? They had always been envied by the crowd. He had always stood in the crowd and laughed at others from high above. But now, this bunch of lowly people actually dared to stand by the side and laugh at them. This bunch of lowly people, how could they be compared to Uncle Monarch? They didn't save them, didn't plead for them, and even laughed at them. Lan Ling Nuo's arrogant and conceited heart had suffered a serious blow. Everything was because of that slut Yi Luo. Secretly seducing the young sect master of Qinhua clan and even pretended that she didn't know Yin Yanshou. Was he intentionally making fun of her? What a Qinhua clan! What a Yi Luo! When she returned to the East Continent, she would make Qinhua clan fall completely. What four great sects! Did they really think they were something? Seeing Yin Yanshou gently and elegantly accompanying Yi Qing Luo towards that ordinary-looking carriage, as though he was talking to the person in the carriage. Immediately after, Yin Yanshou personally pulled the reins of the carriage with a face full of smiles. One had to know, after entering the Joy clan residence, regardless of whether it was a carriage or a sedan, it had to be carried to a special place for carriages and sedan. No matter who it was, they were not allowed to use carriages in the Qinhua sect. But unexpectedly, the young sect master of the Qinhua sect actually took the initiative to lead the way for the person in the carriage. Who was the person in the carriage? How could he have such a great reputation? The honored guests recalled how Lan Ling Nuo and Xiao Lingling called them lowly commoners and said the people in the carriage were lowly commoners with no status or status. Just by looking at Yin Yanshou's attitude, it could be understood. The person in the carriage was not someone an ordinary person could afford to offend. TSK, he wondered if the two princesses' faces hurt. He felt the mocking and disdainful gazes coming from all directions. All of them seemed to be laughing at them for overestimating themselves. Lan Ling Nuo was so infuriated that her entire body was trembling. She wanted to struggle but she couldn't break free from the restraints of the guards. Chapter 25-26. Following Lan Ling Nuo's call, the surrounding guests automatically made way for them. Immediately, a group of about 15 people were trying to sneak away from this conspicuous place. But unfortunately, Lan Ling Nuo's call. Even if they wanted to sneak away, it was impossible. Prime Minister's son, stop hiding. I know it's you. Hurry up and come over here to save me. Lan Ling Nuo shrieked angrily when she saw that group of people still cowering in fear. This Prime Minister's son wasn't anyone else. He was the East Water Continent's Prime Minister's son who they met when they went to the Treasure Pavilion's auction to retrieve the Sky Yuan serene grass. When Prime Minister's son heard Lan Ling Nuo's voice, he was so angry that his body trembled. He tensed his body, not wanting to bother about Lan Ling Nuo at all. One must know that Qinghua sect's sovereign's birthday banquet should be attended by him as the Prime Minister. But Lan Ling Nuo insisted on joining in the fun. The monarch favored Lan Ling Nuo, and he also had the idea of having Lan Ling Nuo serve as the representative of the East Water Continent's imperial family to consolidate their power. Prime Minister's son almost went bankrupt when he bid for the Sky Yuan serene grass and was beaten back to the third stage by Yiqing Luo. Today, his prime minister position was in jeopardy. He had racked his brains to stabilize his position as prime minister. He also wanted to befriend Qinghua sect's sovereign. After the monarch announced Lan Ling Nuo as the East Water Continent's royal family's representative, he used his son family's identity to come to the North Water Continent. He didn't expect their East Water Continent's princess had created such a huge mess. It wasn't something that his son family could handle. But Lan Ling Nuo actually stopped him in front of everyone. To help Lan Ling Nuo, which would definitely offend Qinghua sect. After all, Lan Ling Nuo's current situation was obviously done intentionally by Qinghua sect's young matriarch. Not helping. It would only make the East Water Continent's royal family a laughingstock. The East Water Continent's royal family would become the laughingstock of the Nirvana realm. Prime Minister's son. The young sect master of the Great Elation sect actually dared to treat me in such a manner. For the sake of a lowly person, you don't even put the East Wave Imperial clan in your eyes. Do you still want to sit back and watch? Don't tell me, you want to see our East Wave Imperial family being trampled on by anyone. When Lan Ling Nuo saw that Prime Minister's son still hadn't come over, she angrily roared again. Her eyes were bloodshot and filled with rage. Prime Minister's son broke out in a cold sweat. Previously, he was still hesitating whether he should come forward to plead for Lan Ling Nuo. As soon as Lan Ling Nuo said this, he didn't need to hesitate at all. Princess, as the representative of the East Wave Imperial family, you should show the demeanor of the East Wave Continent when you attend the birthday banquet of the sect leader of the Qinghua sect. How can you make such a ruckus in the Elation sect? Prime Minister's son frowned and rebuked her with a look of exasperation. Your Highness, before we set off, I have taught you many times about etiquette. You are a disgrace to the royal family. Lan Ling Nuo was mocked and ridiculed by the people around her. At this moment, even the Prime Minister of the imperial family dared to point at her nose and criticize her. How could Lan Ling Nuo accept this? How dare you? Do you think that I'm someone who you can criticize? Prime Minister's son, if you don't ask these people to let me go, I will ask my cousin, the Emperor, to remove your position as Prime Minister when I return to the East Wave Continent. Chapter 25-27. Lan Ling Nuo was so angry that her eyes turned red. She struggled to grab Prime Minister Sunday. However, the guards held her tightly. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Let go of me. Let go of me right now." Prime Minister's son's eyes were cold. He wanted to turn around and leave. He did not want to have anything to do with this disgraceful princess. However, in the next moment, he saw that Yin Yanxiu, who was walking in front of him, had stopped and was looking at him. Prime Minister's son's heart tightened. The reason why he came to the North Wave Continent to attend the faction leader's birthday banquet was to build a good relationship with the Qinghua faction. Now, he finally had the chance to talk to the young faction leader of the Qinghua faction. He could not miss this opportunity no matter what. Prime Minister's son suddenly turned around and walked toward Yin Yanxiu. Young faction leader, do you want to plead for the princess of the East Wave Continent? Yin Yanxiu rarely spoke directly. The words that he was about to say were stuck in his throat. Prime Minister's son hesitated for a moment and said, "Yes." Yin Yanxiu interrupted him again. You can plead for her, but take her away. Prime Minister's son was stunned. His face turned slightly pale. The meaning of Yin Yancho's words was obvious. If he pleaded for Lan Ling Nuo, he would leave the Qinhua faction together with him. Prime Minister's son wouldn't take such a risk with his future. He could only hang his head bitterly. Lan Ling Nuo also heard Yin Yancho's words. She could not believe it. Yin Yancho would treat her like this because of those B*****. He did not even give her a chance. Why did he have to let her suffer such humiliation in front of everyone? Did he know that what he was doing now, was it enough to destroy the rest of her life? If what happened today were to spread, not to mention becoming the madam of the faction leader. Even if she wanted to marry someone in the future, no one would be interested in her. No. No. She could not ruin herself like this. She was the most pampered princess in the East Wave continent. Her existence was revered by tens of thousands of people. Young sect leader, is this how the Qinhua sect treats its guests? You said it yourself, everyone who comes here is a guest. My East Wave Imperial clan was personally invited by your Qinhua sect master. Now that you're treating me like this, doesn't that represent your Qinhua sect's attitude towards the East Wave Imperial clan? Lan Ling Nuo raised her voice and enunciated each word venomously. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of cold air. As for Lan Ling Nuo, he silently swore to himself that he must stay away from such a person in the future. It was clear that she was relying on the power of the East Wave Imperial clan to bully the guests who came to attend the birthday banquet. She didn't give the sect master of the Qinhua sect any face. Now, they were still trying to invert right and wrong, claiming that it was the Qinhua sect that was disrespectful to the East Wave Imperial clan. Just how shameless was this princess of the East Wave region? In the eyes of the four great sects, the East Wave Imperial family was nothing. Even the emperors of the four royal families were standing here. The four great sects weren't afraid, alright. The four great sects. The legendary tomb keeper of the divine emperor. His status was outstanding and his identity was honorable. How could a princess of the imperial clan be compared to the young sect master of the four great sects? Who doesn't know that the B****tch called Yi Luo had secretly colluded with you? Didn't she just whisper in your ear for a few days? As the young sect master of the Qinhua sect, why would you lower yourself to cooperate with a lowly commoner and create a mysterious and honorable identity for her? Chapter 25-28. When Lan Ling Nuo said that, the crowd went into an uproar. Although they didn't really believe Lan Ling Nuo's words. But the crowd couldn't control themselves as they shot suspicious gazes towards Yin Yancho and Yiqing Luo. Yin Yancho didn't expect Lan Ling Nuo to say such shameless words. His face sunk and the gaze he shot towards Lan Ling Nuo was filled with disgust. You're the East Lan princess, how dare you spout nonsense and slander others? As a lady, you should know clearly how important reputation is to a lady. You actually use such a vicious method to ruin a lady's reputation. This young matriarch has learned something new about your East Lan royal family's teachings. Yin Yancho's words seemed to be squeezed out from the slits of his teeth. Apparently he was really infuriated. Lan Ling Nuo's eyes were filled with viciousness as she sneered, I'm merely speaking the truth. If it wasn't for the fact that you have an affair with her, would she be able to stand here today? She scoffed coldly in disdain. Following that, she gave a sinister smile, young matriarch, today you've embarrassed the East Lan royal family just because of a slut. This princess will not let this matter rest. Yin Yancho's expression sunk once again as his face turned steely green. Perhaps this was the first time he had met such a barbaric lady. Just as he was about to speak, Yiqing Luo's light voice was heard from behind, young matriarch need not be angry. In my eyes, she's merely a clown trying to please the crowd. She slowly walked past Yin Yancho and towards Lan Ling Nuo. The smile on her lips was filled with a hair-raising ridicule. East Lawn Princess. You think I'm not qualified to stand here? And not qualified to attend the birthday banquet? Lan Ling Nuo was frightened by her smile. She shrank backwards as she kept trembling. But on seeing Yi Qing Luo's pair of smiling yet not smiling eyes, she mustered up her courage as she rebuked, yes. Based on your status, if not for the fact that you've hooked up with young matriarch, how could you possibly stand here? TSK, then what does East Lawn Princess think is considered as qualified? Yi Qing Luo touched her chin as she asked with a smile. Lan Ling Nuo bared her teeth in anger. Joy's sect is one of the 4 major sects and is incomparably respectable. Those who attend matriarch's birthday banquet are at least famous in the pugilistic world and have outstanding status. You, an ordinary student who hasn't even graduated, what right do you have? Based on the fact that I am qualified. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she slowly fished out a red invitation card. He held it between his index and middle fingers and waved it in front of Lan Ling Nuo's eyes. I just want to ask you a few questions. Do you think that the 3000 Peach Blossom mercenary group can be considered famous in the world of martial artists and is a force that has the right to attend the birthday banquet? When Lan Ling Nuo saw the invitation, her face was full of disdain. But upon hearing Yi Qing Luo's question, she went into a daze. Right, 3000 peaches. How could she forget that Yi Qing Luo and the leader of the 3000 Peach Blossoms had a close relationship? Lan Ling Nuo's face paled. Yi Qing Luo smiled even more brilliantly. When the surrounding people heard the words, 3000 Peach Blossoms, they all expressed that they were absolutely qualified. The 3000 Peach Blossom was only a silver mercenary group. Moreover, there weren't many of them. However, the 3000 Peach Blossoms were the target that every major clan and faction wanted to curry favor with. It could be said that the distinguished guests present, they all wanted to make friends with the 3000 Peach Blossoms. Chapter 25-29. Lan Ling Nuo's pale lips trembled. A wave of lingering fear and uneasiness swept through his body and mind. She trembled, and her face was deathly pale. How could she dare to bring such a matter to the sect master? If he didn't know about the close relationship between Yi Luo and 3000 Peach Blossoms, she might really go to the sect master's place to make a scene. But, the 3000 Peach Blossoms were willing to go against the warlord's residence for Yi Luo. It was obvious that 3000 Peach Blossoms and Yi Luo were very close. Looking at East Lan Juanju's expression, it seems like she doesn't want to bring this matter to Sovereign. Yi Qing Luo squinted her long and narrow eyes as she looked down at the disheveled her with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Lan Ling Nuo was filled with humiliation, and her eyes were bloodshot. Yi Qing Luo straightened her waist as she closed the invitation card and continued with a beaming smile, Today is Sovereign's birthday celebration. How can such a small matter be brought to Sovereign's attention and affect Sovereign's mood? Her words caused the surrounding onlookers to nod their heads in admiration. He also had a better impression of this girl in red. The eyes of the crowd were sharp. Everyone could see that. It was the East Wave County Lord who had been pestering the red-clothed girl. Time and time again, he provoked trouble and spoke rudely. If it were them, they would have sent the East Wave County Lord back to the East Wave continent with a slap and become the high and mighty County Lord. That red-clothed girl's temper was still good. She tolerated it time and time again, not wanting to disturb the sect master's birthday. However, the princess of the East Wave County Lord was overbearing and even spread rumors that there was an affair between the young lady and the young sect master. This kind of rumor, how much damage should it cause to a woman? Everyone felt that Yi Qing Luo was wholeheartedly putting up with it for the sake of Sovereign's birthday banquet. But, how would Lan Ling Nuo not know that Yi Qing Luo said these words in order to slap her face? The 3000 Peach Blossoms. Could it be, that the 3,000 peach blossoms gave a coachman the right to enter. Xiao Lingling was indignant. Seeing that Lan Ling Nuo didn't speak, she glared at Xiao Jin. Even if Yi Qing Luo had the right to attend the sovereign's birthday banquet, they also wanted to pick a fight. What right did Yi Luo and his group have to attend the sect master's birthday banquet in peace? As a dignified princess, was she going to be asked to leave the Qin Yu sect by Yin Yanqiu in such an embarrassing manner? Ha! Dream on. If you want to be humiliated, then let's be humiliated together. As soon as Xiao Lingling said this, everyone's eyes focused on Xiao Jin. The onlookers were all people with good eyesight. Although Xiao Jin looked ordinary and wore ordinary clothes. However, his temperament was that of someone who had just descended into the mortal world. In addition, Xiao Jin's side was snuggling with a pretty girl, who was bright and beautiful. How was it possible that he was just an ordinary groom? However, how could Xiao Lingling see through his temperament? She only knew that the groom was ugly and dressed very plainly. How could a nobody like him participate in the birthday banquet of the Qinhua sect master? But they were going to be driven out. This princess and all of you have brought servants and guards with us. After entering the Qinhua clan manor, we can't even bring a personal maid with us. Why can her coachman come with us? Xiao Lingling struggled against the restraints of her arms, gritting her teeth and roaring. Looking at Xiao Lingling's hysterical look, Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up as her eyes were filled with ridicule. Who told you that he's only a coachman? He obviously. Xiao Lingling recalled that Yi Qing Luo had taken out the 3,000 peach blossoms invitation as her face turned pale. Could it be that that person wasn't a coachman? Chapter 25-30. Xiao Jin embraced Yan Shaoyi's slender waist as a trace of a smile appeared on his ordinary face. That smile was meaningful, but it also revealed a trace of coldness. Xiao Lingling felt a chill down her spine. For some inexplicable reason, a feeling of exhaustion welled up in his body. Yan Shaoyi stretched out her hand and circled it around Xiao Jin's neck, her charming face full of smiles. Slut Jin, I asked you to wear the academy uniform, but you refused to do so. Look, the noble little princess has even mistaken you for a coachman. Academy uniform. Xiao Lingling caught the keyword. However, he still did not understand the significance of the academy uniform. When Yan Shaoyi saw this, her beautiful eyes curved as her other hand reached into Xiao Jin's robes and took out a red invitation. She flicked her finger. The red invitation flew straight away like a whirlwind. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and the invitation steadily landed in her palm. The invitation happened to open in his palm. Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo could clearly see themselves in the mirror. Heavenly Academy's representatives, Xiao Jin, Yan Shaoyi, Mo Yuing. Heavenly Academy's representative. Heavenly Academy. Nirvana Realm had been named the best academy for several years. The best academy that had saved countless academies in the South Continent and produced a savior. Heavenly Academy. These people looked so young. No matter how he looked at it, he was at most a student of the Heavenly Academy. How was it possible to be the representative of the Heavenly Academy to attend the sovereign's birthday banquet? So, they are the representatives of the Heavenly Academy. As expected of the best academy. I didn't expect that a student who hasn't even graduated can already be a representative. To be looked upon so highly by the academy at such a young age, he will definitely achieve great things in the future. Whether it was sincere or just a compliment. The surrounding people all praised Xiao Jin and the others for being young and promising. These words were like needles that pierced Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo. They never would have thought this ordinary-looking man was actually the representative of the Heavenly Academy. Obviously, 3,000 peach blossoms and the best academy. Yet, he purposely took this ordinary carriage to attend the birthday banquet. They did it on purpose. It was probably a scheme to embarrass them. If Yiqing Luo knew what they were thinking, she would be speechless. These two retards thought that everyone had to be as retarded as them, decorating themselves like Christmas trees and decorating themselves magnificently. Attend a birthday banquet. She could take whichever carriage she wanted. What did it have to do with the two of them? Furthermore, if the two of them hadn't come looking for trouble, would they have ended up like this? He could only say, retardation was an illness that needed to be treated. If he didn't do it, he wouldn't die. Yiqing Luo looked smilingly at the two retards. Now, both of you, do you have any more questions? Or, do you want to know if the people in my carriage are qualified to stand here? How could the two of them dare to speak again? It didn't matter how many people were in the carriage or whether they were qualified. Just based on the identity of the 3,000 peach blossoms and the representative of the Heavenly Academy, she was already qualified to stand here. If they insisted on asking everyone in the carriage to come down and verify their identities, they were afraid that in the end, they would not only lose face. Don't delay the sovereign's birthday banquet, let's hurry to the main hall. Yan Xiaoyi wasn't interested in these two retards as she pulled Xiao Jin back to the side of the carriage. This time, no one dared to open their mouths to find trouble. The show ended. Everyone dispersed. But this time, everyone's discussion was no longer about trying to build relationships with each other. Instead, they were guessing the identity of the red-robed young lady. Chapter 25-31. Yin Yanxiu continued to pull the carriage while Yiqing Luo and the rest walked beside the carriage. After a few steps, Yiqing Luo suddenly looked at Yin Yanxiu and looked at those two disheveled princes who were being restrained by the guards, as she spoke out with good intentions, "Young sect master, just send these two noble princes back to the royal family. No matter what. They are also princes with a respectable status." Yin Yanxiu raised his brows and nodded slightly. The guards who were restraining the two princesses finally carried them towards the entrance of the Qinhua clan's residence. More than 10 guards let out a sharp piercing scream of a lady. Instantly, it attracted the attention of numerous people. Hence, the various forces who were still queuing up saw the Qinhua clan's guards carrying the two princesses and directly throwing them out of the Qinhua clan's residence. Following that, a guard brought over a dilapidated carriage. Lan Ling Nuo and Xiao Ling Ling's gazes were fixed on that carriage as their faces revealed a terrified expression. You dare to treat me like this? Xiao Ling Ling was so anxious that she cried, "Let go of me. I will go back myself. I don't need you to send me off." The guard forcefully pushed the both of them onto the carriage. This carriage could no longer be described as dilapidated. There wasn't even a lid on the carriage. Both of them sat in the carriage and their upper bodies were completely exposed. "Young sect master has ordered me to personally send these two distinguished princesses back to the royal palace. From now on, you are not allowed to step into the Qinhua clan." That guard's loud voice resounded throughout the Qinhua clan's residence. The crowd was in an uproar. These two princesses had offended the young sect master of the Qinhua clan and were chased out. The crowd was getting more and more curious. What on earth had these two princesses done? They actually allowed the young sect master to disregard the relationship between the royal family and Qinhua clan and humiliate them. To sit in such a carriage all the way back to the royal family. It could be said that the reputation of these two princesses, as well as the reputation of the two continents' royal families, was completely ruined. 2 retards had been sent away. Yiqing Luo expressed that even the air had become much fresher. She glanced at Yin Yanxiu, who was calmly pulling the horse's reins and didn't engage in any conversation. In her heart, she had a better impression of him. The young sect master of the Qinyu sect was a smart person. Of course, Yiqing Luo didn't think that Yin Yanxiu would appear here to stand out for them, even at the cost of offending the royal family. It was really just because of the phrase, "Everyone who comes is a guest." A person in a high position would always do everything for their own benefit. If he didn't guess wrong, Yin Yanxiu would rush over. It should be the gatekeeper who saw a certain name on the invitation card and immediately informed Yin Yanxiu about this person's identity, as well as the news of Yiqing Luo and the others clashing with the two princesses. However, from Yin Yanxiu's appearance until now, there was not the slightest hint of trying to curry favor with him. They were extremely well behaved. She liked dealing with smart people. Yiqing Luo thought of Yi Fengyu, who was far away in the West Continent, as her lips curled into an extremely shallow smile. If it was possible, she really hoped that Xiao Yu could become good friends with the young sect master of the Qinhua sect. "What are you smiling about, Miss Yi?" Yin Yanxiu's gaze swept over the smile on her lips and asked gently. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways as her brows arched. Maybe she felt that young sect master is someone who can befriend and is happy that she has another friend. Yin Yanxiu also laughed softly. Chapter 25-32. Miaogu family. Miao Rongrong's brows were tightly knitted. Her meticulous makeup couldn't hide her pale complexion. She was supported by a maidservant, her delicate body slightly trembling. "That slut. She actually dares to appear here. Who exactly is she? Why even the young sect master is on her side?" Miao Xingwei's eyes were sinister as he recalled that not long ago at the Peach Blossom restaurant, he felt Yiqing Luo's power as he suppressed his voice. That lady called Yi Luo isn't simple. For young sect master to help her, there are only two possibilities. What? Miao Rongrong's face twisted. Firstly, Yi Luo's status is above the imperial clan. That's why the young sect master is willing to offend the imperial clan to protect Yi Luo. Miao Xingwei analyzed rationally. Secondly, there's someone in the carriage that even the Qinhua clan is wary of. Miao Rongrong clenched her fists, her eyes filled with jealousy. Rongrong. Miao Xingwei held Miao Rongrong's shoulders and sternly said, "The poison in your body can no longer be suppressed. You must find her to detoxify you." Miao Rongrong gritted her teeth. She hated that bitch to death, but now she still had to beg that bitch. How could she lose face like this? Someone that even the young sect master of the joyful Qin sect wants to curry favor with must have an extraordinary identity. Becoming enemies with Yi Luo will only affect our Miaogu clan. Patriarch is a very good example. Miao Xingwei increased the strength in his hand and said, "Rongrong, don't you want to be the Miao tribe saintess?" "I want to." Miao Rongrong's eyes were filled with hatred. He thought of his father's pathetic state when he escaped from the forbidden land of the Miao tribe. Her hatred towards Yiqing Luo grew. "I know what to do." Miao Xingwei loosened his grip and said, "Yi Luo needs your strength to help him suppress the goo poison. You can use this to repair your relationship with Yi Luo. As long as you can build a relationship with Yi Luo, you will definitely become the holy maiden of the Miao tribe." Miao Rongrong was a little worried, but the ancient goo worm has not been found yet. Miao Xingwei interrupted Miao Rongrong. "The ancient goo insect. The patriarch will think of a way. What you need to do now is to stabilize your image and win the right to be selected as the holy maiden." Wind Valley sect. Gu Jingyu slowly retracted his gaze from Yiqing Luo. He looked down at his empty hand and felt an inexplicable sense of melancholy. "Young sect master, do you know that girl?" the great elder of the Wind Valley sect asked in a low voice. Earlier when Gu Jingyu saw Lan Ling Nuo and Xiao Lingling clashing with Yiqing Luo, he obviously wanted to speak up for Yiqing Luo. If he hadn't stopped her, Gu Jingyu reckoned that he had already offended the royal families of both continents. Their Wind Valley sect had always not interfered in any power struggles. Even though they could tell that their young sect master was interested in that young lady, they couldn't help it. It was also impossible for him to let his young sect leader stand up for that girl. Gu Jingyu did not answer. His 5 fingers curled up little by little and clenched tightly into a fist. Great Elder Gu sighed softly. Young sect master, look at the big picture. Don't forget what the imperial advisor taught you before you came here. At the mention of the imperial tutor, Gu Jingyu's calm eyes had some fluctuations. Master said that on this trip, I will meet with the biggest calamity in this lifetime. Perhaps. This is my calamity. He muttered softly as his voice sounded as though he had realized something. Great Elder Gu opened his mouth, but when he saw Gu Jingyu's gloomy eyes, he sighed in the end. Chapter 25-33. Grand Elder Gu glanced at the dispersing crowd and whispered, "Let's enter, young lord." Gu Jingyu allowed Great Elder Gu to pull him toward the lobby. His mind was filled with the image of Yin Yanxiu pulling the carriage and showing great respect to everyone inside. He thought bitterly in his heart, could the person in the carriage be Miss Yi Luo's fiancé? The Joy clan manor was indeed huge. It was no wonder that the sect master would hold the birthday banquet in the sect manor. They followed Yin Yanxiu for about the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn. Finally, they arrived at the lobby. To be personally received by the young sect master, and to be seated in a horse-drawn carriage all the way to the main hall, it could be said that he was the first person to attend the birthday banquet today. Therefore, when the group of people arrived at the lobby, it instantly attracted the attention of countless people. The birthday banquet had yet to officially begin. The sect master of the Great Pleasure sect, Yin Qinghao, was wearing a birthday robe with a crown on his head. He had a joyous smile on his face as he chatted with someone. He was obviously in an extremely good mood. Yiqing Luo spotted 2 familiar faces standing beside the Qinhua sect master. The Miao tribe leader, Miao Yixiong. General of the War King's mansion, Yuan Zhan. Yiqing Luo raised her brows in astonishment. Wasn't the War King general imprisoned in the imperial palace? Why would he appear at the sect master's birthday banquet? The imperial family would actually give the War King's mansion a chance to make a comeback. No, that's not right. The representative of the Northern Wave imperial family had already been taken by Xiao Lingling. It was definitely not the royal family's idea for the warlord's mansion to be here. Instead, congratulating the Qinhua sect master in the name of the War King. Looking at the atmosphere between Yuan Zhan and Yin Qinghao. From the looks of it, their relationship was not bad. Yiqing Luo and the others were simply too eye-catching. At this moment, Yuan Zhan was absent-minded. He immediately saw the approaching carriage. His gaze was fixed on the red figure walking beside the horse carriage. For a moment, the anger that had accumulated in his chest surged to his heart. It was that bitch. That bastard Yi Luo. That slut who destroyed his War King's mansion and caused him to be controlled by the imperial family. How dare she come here? Brother Yuan, what's wrong? Yin Qinghao sensed the anger coming from Yuan Zhan, so he was a bit surprised. Yuan Zhan clenched his fists. His muscles tightened, as if he hadn't heard Yin Qinghao's voice. Yin Qinghao followed Yuan Zhan's gaze. Then, he saw his son pulling a carriage over. Yin Qinghao had received the news long ago. Yin Yanxiu went out of his way to welcome a big shot who had come to his birthday banquet. Thinking of that big shot, Yin Qinghao immediately stood up and was about to take the initiative to welcome them. However, Yin Qinghao had not lifted his foot. A gust of cold wind blew past him. Yuan Zhan, who had been full of hostility, was already charging towards the carriage. His aura was aggressive and filled with a dense chill. Yin Qinghao's heart thumped. Judging from Yuan Zhan's attitude, it was obvious that he had a grudge against the person in the carriage. The person sitting in the carriage was a distinguished guest. Even the 4 major sects would have to think twice before offending them. Of course, generally speaking, no one from the 4 major sects would be so silly to become enemies with that distinguished guest. Yin Qinghao was afraid that Yuan Zhan would offend the distinguished guest as he hurriedly chased up. Yi Luo. Why are you here? Chapter 25-34. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she sighed helplessly. She really just wanted to attend the birthday banquet. I really didn't want to cause any trouble. At the very least, he didn't think of stirring up trouble before the birthday banquet ended. But why do these things always come knocking on my door one by one? Couldn't they just happily attend the birthday party? Yiqing Luo expressed her helplessness. Yi Luo. What do you want? He had chased her all the way until the sect master's birthday. What enmity do you have with me? Yuan Zhan rushed in front of Yiqing Luo and lowered his voice. Every word and sentence was squeezed out from the gaps between his teeth. Yiqing Luo picked her ears as she lazily raised her eyes and shot a glance at him. In just a few days, Yuan Zhan looked completely different from before. A few days ago, Yuan Zhan was still a high-spirited general. Domineering, overbearing, and barbaric. But now, there was an unconcealable fatigue on his face. That dignified face was obviously thin. His eyes were cloudy and bloodshot. His originally tall and mighty body also seemed a little dispirited at this moment. Looks like General Zhan Wang's family had suffered quite a bit during this period of time when they were locked up in the palace. Yiqing Luo's attitude had triggered Yuan Zhan's hatred towards her. Yuan Zhan clenched his fists in anger. This is the Qinhua sect leader's birthday banquet, not a place for you to behave atrociously. On account of the sect master's birthday banquet, this general will not bicker with you. Now, scram for this general. Get out of this general's sight. He suppressed his anger. The muscles all over his body tightened. Yuan Zhan purposely lowered his voice. No matter how good the hearing of the people around them was, they couldn't hear it clearly. However, Yin Yanqiu, who was standing to the side, heard Yuan Zhan's words clearly. She could clearly feel how deep Yuan Zhan's hatred for Yiqing Luo was, so deep that he almost wanted to kill her. Yin Yanqiu more or less knew something about the warlord's mansion. It was just that he didn't know the reason. As for Yuan Zhan's purpose in coming to the Qinhua sect, he more or less understood. From the looks of it, the War King's mansion would be controlled by the royal family. It was related to Yiqing Luo. Yin Yanqiu couldn't help but size up Yiqing Luo. He secretly guessed the identity of this girl. Looking at Yuan Zhan's outburst of anger, he clenched his fist tightly, as though he was about to punch Yiqing Luo's delicate face. Yin Yanqiu cleared his throat and was about to dissuade Yuan Zhan. However, the girl's clear and sweet voice rang out leisurely, "General Battle King's words are ridiculous. Who gave you the confidence to think that? I came to the Qinhua sect because of you." Yiqing Luo didn't intentionally suppress her voice. The surrounding people all heard Yiqing Luo's words clearly. Yuan Zhan's face turned green. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she smiled indifferently. "General Battle King, don't be so narcissistic and don't be so shameless. I don't even put your Battle King's manner in my eyes. You." Yuan Zhan's face was as black as charcoal. This slut, how dare she humiliate him in front of so many high-ranking officials and dignitaries? "Stop you. I have no interest to waste time with you here." Yiqing Luo's pink lips curved upwards as her evil and teasing gaze met Yuan Zhan's eyes. That pair of smiling eyes flashed. Yuan Zhan's eyes reflected that pair of long and narrow evil charming eyes. His heart suddenly trembled violently. Chapter 25-35. Obviously, when Yiqing Luo and Yuan Zhan stood face to face, Yiqing Luo didn't even reach Yuan Zhan's shoulder. Obviously, Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at Yuan Zhan in the eyes. But unfortunately, Yuan Zhan felt an indescribable pressure pressing heavily on his shoulder. That gaze was like an icy cold poisonous snake, entangling him bit by bit. He actually had a feeling that he couldn't breathe. How high was this slut's ability? How could she suppress his aura so easily? Anne. As for the reason why I'm here, naturally has nothing to do with you, Battle King General. The smile in Yiqing Luo's eyes deepened by several notches. Today is Qinghua Sect's matriarch's birthday. Other than to celebrate his birthday, what other reason would I have to stand here? Hearing Yiqing Luo's reply, Yuan Zhan's face turned green and white. He knew clearly that Yiqing Luo was doing this on purpose. Intentionally to embarrass him in front of all the officials and dignitaries of the various continents. Intentionally to ruin his reputation as the Battle King General. On purpose, Yuan Zhan clenched his fists tightly. As he suppressed his anger, his entire body was trembling slightly. Yin Yanqiu's eyes flickered slightly as he took a huge step forward and stood in front of Yiqing Luo. His tall and sturdy body blocked Yiqing Luo completely. Yuan Zhan was obviously stunned as his body turned extremely stiff. Battle King General. Yin Yanqiu smiled slightly. This is a distinguished guest invited by Father. Today is Father's birthday banquet. I hope General Battle King can maintain a happy mood. Yuan Zhan's tightened arms bulged with muscles. The expression on his face kept on twisting. After some time, Yuan Zhan's tightly pursed lips revealed a stiff arc. To be able to attend the matriarch's birthday banquet, I'm naturally happy. That smile was even uglier than crying. Yin Yanqiu pretended not to see his reluctance as he raised his hand and patted Yuan Zhan's shoulder lightly. Battle King General, I'll bring these distinguished guests to meet Father first. Yuan Zhan's breathing stagnated. Once he lost power, he was trampled by thousands. Since when did a junior dare to be so disrespectful to him? He suppressed the anger in his chest and moved away bit by bit. Make way for them. At this time, Yin Qinghao had already caught up. Seeing Yuan Zhan's expression, he hurriedly smiled and said, "So General Battle King and Lady Yi are old friends. Thank you all for coming all the way here to attend my birthday banquet. Come, please enter the hall. I have already arranged your seats." Yuan Zhanjiang stood on the side, watching Yin Qinghao talking to Yi Luo in a friendly manner, as well as Yi Luo's mocking smile. He felt as if he had been slapped in the face. Almost subconsciously, he sneered, "That's right, Lady Yi and I are old acquaintances. However, I am very curious. What is Lady Yi's identity that the sect master admires you so much?" His words seemed as though he was curious about Yiqing Luo's identity. However, his words were clearly overbearing. When the words came out of his mouth, Yuan Zhan was also taken aback. But he did not regret it. Chapter 25-36. General War King, Yin Yanqiu frowned and shouted in a low voice. Just as he was about to stop Yuan Zhan's overbearing manner, Yiqing Luo had already laughed out softly, hearing General Battle King's tone. "Why does it have a sour taste? Could it be General Warlord is jealous of me? Are you jealous that a little girl like me is able to get acquainted with the leader of the 3,000 peach blossoms and gain the sect master's appreciation?" Pucci, the surrounding people couldn't help but burst out laughing. The War King General was jealous of a 15-year-old girl. No matter how one listened to it, these words sounded exceptionally ridiculous. But, when it was said by this young girl, he felt that what she said seemed very reasonable. General Zhan Wang's sour tone. No matter how one listened to it, it was filled with jealousy and indignation. "You! What nonsense are you spouting? What do you have to make me jealous?" Yuan Zhan gritted his teeth in anger. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes innocently. "Oh. General Battle King's meaning is that you don't want to get acquainted with 3,000 peach blossoms, and don't want to be on good terms with Sovereign." Yuan Zhan was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. That pair of malicious eyes couldn't wait to use his gaze to tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. "Yi Luo, you're deliberately changing the topic. You don't want everyone to know your true identity, do you? Yuan Zhan took a deep breath and suppressed his anger as he stared at Yi Qing Luo and said word by word. You're from the West Wave continent. On the first day you arrived at the North Wave continent, you got into a conflict with my son, Yuan Kuang. You poisoned Kuang and caused a ruckus in my warlord's mansion, and now you're in such a state. He paused and suddenly looked at a certain place. In a cold voice, he said, this general's only son is poisoned and is bedridden. The doctors are unable to cure him. This general can only go to the Miao Gu family and plead with young Miss Miao to save him. I didn't expect that this woman's goal was not just the warlord manor. She borrowed the hands of the warlord manor to infect young Miss Miao with the poison. He was looking in the direction of the Miao tribe leader, Miao Yixiong. Everyone's gaze landed on Miao Yixiong at the same time. Miao Yixiong almost cursed. Damn that Yuan Zhan. How dare he say that his daughter was poisoned in front of so many people. He had tried so hard to hide it. He didn't want to affect Miao Rongrong's chances of becoming the holy maiden. If the Miao tribesmen knew that Miao Rongrong had been poisoned by an incurable poison, the tribesmen were terrified and believed that this was the order of the poison god to deny Miao Rongrong the right to be the holy virgin. Yuan Zhan actually dragged his Miao tribe into this at this time. Was he trying to destroy him and the Miao tribe? He was so angry that his face turned pale. However, in Yuan Zhan's eyes, he felt that Miao Yixiong was infuriated by Yi Qing Luo's shamelessness. Although he had been imprisoned by the royal family for the past few days. However, after so many years, his forces and informants had already spread all over the Northern Wave continent. What he wanted to know. It was still a piece of cake. Yi Qing Luo and the others trespassed into the Miao tribe to save someone, creating a huge ruckus in the Miao tribe, and even destroying the seal which the Miao tribe had been guarding for hundreds of years. Yuan Zhan had received the news long ago. Therefore, he had deliberately dragged Miao Yixiong out at this time. Presumably, Miao Yixiong hated Yi Qing Luo to the core. If the two of them could work together and kill this bitch. Chapter 25-37. Yi Qing Luo naturally didn't miss the sinister and complacent look in Yuan Zhan's eyes. She had more or less guessed Yuan Zhan's thoughts at this moment. Her pink lips rose slightly as she smiled at Miao Yixiong. Oh. Miao Yixiong, I didn't know I was so hateful. Not only did I cause young master to be poisoned, but also eldest Miss Miao. I'm really amazing. There was a hint of a smile in her voice as she spoke. Miao Yixiong felt a chill down his spine. Obviously, it was a bright and radiant smile. But in his eyes, it was a summon from hell. Miao Yixiong, this is Qinhua sect. Our brothers from all over the world are here. We must expose this vicious woman's true colors. Otherwise, next month, the Battle King's residence will be someone else. Yuan Zhan got anxious when he saw Miao Yixiong's silence. He must pull Miao Yixiong to his side. Moreover, Yuan Zhan had another thought in his mind. Yi Luo, that slut, an ordinary student. But Yin Qinghao gave her so much face and even looked so respectful. Could it be that Yi Luo and Yin Qinghao were in cahoots? He had been guessing the reason. The real culprit behind the scenes was actually Qinhua sect's sovereign Yin Qinghao. True colors. Yin Qinghao frowned slightly as his eyes locked tightly as he looked at Yuan Zhan. What does General Battle King mean by this? Yuan Zhan's gaze fell on Miao Yixiong. Miao Yixiong was suffocated by Yi Qing Luo's gaze. At this moment, Yuan Zhan was still pressing on. His face turned pale as he gritted his teeth. General Battle King, where did you hear this news from? Miss Yi has no enmity with my Miao tribe, so why would she poison Rongrong? Yuan Zhan's expression changed drastically. You. Miao Yixiong, are you going to watch this slut mislead the masses and destroy the northern continent? General Battle King, you're the one who misleads the masses, right? Miao Yixiong's brows furrowed as he berated sternly, would I use my daughter's life as a joke? If my daughter was poisoned, would she still attend the sovereign's birthday banquet today? As he spoke, he extended his hand behind him. Rong Rong, come here. Let General Warlord take a good look at you. Tell your uncle Warlord, what poison have you been poisoned by? In the Miao Gu aristocrat clan's territory, a woman dressed in jade green Miao clothing leisurely walked out. Miao Rongrong's face was exquisite, and her smile was appropriate. Her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with a moist luster. She slowly walked to Miao Yixiong's side and bowed in Yuan Zhan's direction with the etiquette of a junior. Thank you for your concern, General Warlord. I've never been poisoned since the beginning. Perhaps you've misunderstood, General Warlord. Although Miao Rongrong's face was a little pale. However, he was in a healthy state and did not look like someone who had been poisoned. You. Yuan Zhan staggered backward, pointing at Miao Rongrong and Miao Yixiong in disbelief. A few days ago, Miao Rongrong was poisoned in the War King's residence. Looking at her. How could she not be poisoned? Why would the people of the Miao tribe speak up for that bitch Yi Luo? Could it be that Miao Yixiong did not hate Yi Luo for destroying the Miao tribe seal? Looking at Yuan Zhan's dispirited and incomprehensible expression, Miao Yixiong's eyes widened. Chapter 25-38. Yuan Zhan was about to go crazy. A pair of malicious eyes stared at Yiqing Luo viciously. Yiqing Luo was fearless as she walked towards Yuan Zhan. One step after another. It was majestic and intimidating. Yuan Zhan, who had been through a lot of battles, actually felt a chill in his face, attacking his senses. Instinctively, he took a step back. However, Yiqing Luo had already walked right in front of him. Did General Warlord say anything? Now, isn't it my turn to speak? Yiqing Luo was all smiles as her tone was extremely gentle. In the eyes of others, Yiqing Luo's action was merely a casual chat with Yuan Zhan. Only Yuan Zhan knew what he was feeling right now. The girl in front of him was like a demon from hell. She had appeared to claim his life. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to argue? Yuan Zhan tried to show his authority as a general. But his mind was filled with images of Yuan Kuang going crazy from being poisoned and Miao Rongrong lying on the bed. Inexplicably, his heart was filled with fear towards this young lady. General Battle King deliberately tried to belittle me and slander me. He even dragged the Miao tribe's patriarch along to slander me. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips. Luckily the Miao clan's leader is a righteous person and didn't collude with you. After she finished speaking, her gaze suddenly became sharp. You think I'm just an ordinary student, then, as a War King general, why are you so painstakingly targeting a weak girl like me? It's fine if it's once or twice, but this is the sect leader's birthday banquet, yet you still insist on being so overbearing and pestering us endlessly. I really want to know. General Battle King, what is the meaning of this? Yuan Zhan's face turned red, and he stomped his feet in anger. He had never been questioned by a junior to the point of being speechless. He was a dignified War King general, the mighty War King of the Northern Wave continent who slaughtered in all directions. How could he suffer such humiliation? His face was red and his neck was thick. He choked and said angrily, Yi Luo. Continue to twist words and force logic, continue to quibble. Today is the sect master's birthday banquet. I won't argue with you. We have plenty of time in the future. Yuan Zhan was not an idiot. The current situation was extremely disadvantageous to him. Yin Qinghao was obviously trying to protect that bitch. It was not easy for him to get the chance to leave the palace. As long as Yin Qinghao was willing to help, he would soon be able to return to the War King's mansion. No matter what, he couldn't miss this opportunity. Otherwise, the Battle King's mansion was really going to fall. There were many ways to deal with Yi Luo. There was no need for him to argue with Yi Luo on this occasion. Yuan Zhan had indeed thought things through. The choice he made was indeed the best one for him at the moment. However, if he wanted to pretend that nothing had happened, even if Yiqing Luo agreed, that would depend on whether her brothers would agree to it or not. Yuan Zhan clenched his fists, suppressed his anger, and prepared to return to his seat. Suddenly, a man's deep and steady voice shocked everyone present, only in the future. As soon as this voice came out, the noisy crowd immediately quietened down. Everyone's gaze turned towards the direction of the voice. That seemingly ordinary carriage that could drive into the entrance of the main hall. The voice sounded like that of a young man in his mid-20s. But the majesty in his tone was intimidating. Who was it? Who was speaking? Yuan Zhan, who was about to leave, froze on the spot. Chapter 2539. The curtains of the carriage were lifted. A black figure walked down from the carriage. The youth in black was calm and expressionless. Soon after, a young man dressed in white walked out from behind him. Yuan Zhan frowned as he stared at the young man in black without blinking. Obviously, he didn't recognize the two people. Yuan Zhan didn't recognize them. But that didn't mean that people from other continents didn't recognize them. When they saw the youth in black, many representatives of the major forces cried out in surprise, "Master Gui Wu! Master Gui Wu! It's actually Master Gui Wu! Did the Qinghua sect master invite Master Gui Wu?" There wasn't a single person who didn't know the name of the ghost martial grandmaster. He was an expert obsessed with martial arts and his profound rank was unfathomable. Every major force in the world wanted to have a relationship with Master Gui Wu. But other than a youth called Young Master Mo, Master Gui Wu didn't care about anyone else. He was wholeheartedly studying martial arts. He was a complete martial arts fanatic. But unexpectedly, Master Gui Wu didn't miss any time to practice martial arts. He actually came to attend the birthday banquet of the Qinghua sect master. This was the first time Master Gui Wu appeared on such an occasion. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. They excitedly imagined a great drama about how to hook up with the ghost martial artist. Yin Qinghao's eyes were also shining with excitement. His hands were trembling as he smiled and looked at Master Gui Wu. "Master Gui Wu, welcome. I didn't expect that. Master Gui Wu would come to my birthday banquet. Sending the invitation to Master Gui Wu was a courtesy." Yin Qinghao didn't think that Master Gui Wu would really come. After all, Master Gui Wu had received a lot of invitations over the years, but had never appeared. It could be said that this was the first time Master Gui Wu appeared on such an occasion. Yin Qinghao's respect for Master Gui Wu. It wasn't because of how high Master Gui Wu's status was. It was because of Master Gui Wu's ability. Master Gui Wu's obsession with martial arts. Master Gui Wu's seriousness in martial arts. Master Gui Wu's strict attitude towards training and improving his strength. All of these were enough to make people admire Master Gui Wu. Master Gui Wu looked at Yin Qinghao indifferently. He raised his hand and handed over a brocade box. "Congratulations on the 50th birthday of the Qinghua sect master." Yin Qinghao's eyes widened in shock. For a moment, he forgot to reach out for the brocade box. The surrounding people were also shocked at this moment. The whole place was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Fortunately, Yin Yanxiu was the first to react. He hurriedly took the brocade box and said a few words of thanks. Only then did Yin Qinghao return to his senses. However, he was still filled with shock. For Gui Wu to come to his birthday banquet was already giving him a lot of face. Gui Wu had actually brought a congratulatory gift for him. Wait, Wait a minute, Gue Wu had come from that carriage. That carriage was Yi Qing Luo's carriage. In other words, the reason why Gue Wu came to the birthday banquet was because of Yi Qing Luo. Ever since Yin Qinghao learned that a big shot would be attending the birthday banquet, he had been guessing who that person would be. However, he had never thought that it would be the ghost martial artist. Ghost martial master. Yuan Zhan had naturally heard of the ghost martial master. He was unable to believe that the young man in front of him was the famous ghost martial artist. However, seeing Yin Qinghao's respectful attitude towards the ghost martial artist, it was absolutely the ghost martial artist. The ghost martial artist had actually come down from that slut Yi Luo's carriage. Chapter 2540. It wasn't only Yuan Zhan who was shocked. All the powerful people around started to express their curiosity towards Yi Qing Luo's identity. If she was really just an ordinary student, how could she be so close to the leader of the 3,000 peach blossoms and make them become enemies with the Battle King's residents because of her? If she was really just an ordinary student, how could she have such a strong aura? Even the Battle King's general who had been on the battlefield for many years couldn't gain any advantage in her hands. If she was really just an ordinary student, a great god-level figure like Gue Wu, who was so cold and unapproachable, would sit in the same carriage as her. Now, it was obvious that he intended to stand up for her. This lady was definitely not just an ordinary student. Yuan Zhan was aware of this point. His face was pale as he looked at Gue Wu's direction in disbelief. His tall body was trembling non-stop. What was the relationship between Yi Luo and Gue Wu? Why would Gue Wu stand on her side? Who was Yi Luo? Why couldn't he find out anything about Yi Luo's other identities? Obviously, just an ordinary student from an ordinary school. Suddenly, Yuan Zhan's gaze was fixed on Peach, who had alighted from the carriage. His facial features immediately contorted. Right. 3,000 peach blossoms. With 3,000 peach blossoms around, whatever he wanted to investigate, wasn't it what 3,000 peach blossoms wanted him to know? 3,000 peach blossoms must have helped Yi Luo to hide her real identity. What does General Battle King want to do to our Yi Luo? Long days ahead. What future does a family that has been abandoned by the royal family have? Peach didn't leave any face for Yuan Zhan the moment she opened her mouth. Yuan Zhan was so angry that his face turned green and white as he stared at Peach viciously. Leader Tao, I am the Battle King of the North Continent and have made great achievements for the North Continent. How could the royal family abandon me? Don't rely on the influence of 3,000 peach blossoms to scare me. Peach crossed her arms and sneered, I have never done anything wrong in my investigations. Do you think you still have a chance to make a comeback? What a pity, not to mention the royal family won't give you this chance. Just based on your attitude towards our Yi Luo, you won't have this chance. Yuan Zhan's chest was filled with endless resentment. When he heard Peach's words, the anger in his heart burned even more fiercely. His eyes were scarlet red and the veins on his forehead were bulging. His entire face was sinister and terrifying. When the surrounding large powerhouses saw this scene, after weighing the pros and cons, they naturally stood on Yi Qing Luo's side without any hesitation. Not to mention whether or not the royal family had given up on the War King General. Now, Gue Wu was obviously helping Yi Qing Luo. He had offended the ghost warrior. Yuan Zhan still had a chance to turn things around. There's no need to make the sect master's birthday so unpleasant. Yi Qing Luo giggled as she moved closer to Gue Wu's side. Master Gue Wu, there's no need to trouble you to make a move on this trash that even I don't fancy. Let's take a seat. Gue Wu shot a cold glance at Yi Qing Luo, as he wordlessly walked towards the direction where Yin Qinghao had invited them to. Another wave of gasps could be heard from the crowd. They all thought to themselves, Master Gue Wu and this girl definitely have a close relationship. With a single sentence from this lady, Gue Wu let off General War King. Even young Master Mo might not be able to influence Gue Wu's choice, right? Seeing Gue Wu and Zhou Mo, who was carrying Kitty Li, walking towards their seats, Peach immediately followed suit. Chapter 2541. Yuan Zhan was extremely infuriated. A junior dared to be so presumptuous in front of him. Good. Good. Now these few sluts, relying on Ghost Marshal's momentum, were trying their best to step on him. Some other day, he must make these few sluts kneel down and beg him. Yuan Zhan's eyes were filled with a chilly intent. He had never believed it. The real group leader of the 3,000 peach blossoms was that young lass in her teens. For the 3,000 peach blossoms to grow to their current status, there must be a mysterious force supporting them from the back. A small puppet. How dare they spout such nonsense in front of him? Yi Luo. Tao Tao. These two sluts, just you wait. The intense hatred coming from behind kept stabbing Yi Qing Luo's back. She didn't need to turn her head to know that the hatred was emitted from Yuan Zhan. To tell the truth, ever since Yuan Zhan and his family were imprisoned in the palace, Yi Qing Luo didn't put the Battle King's residence in her eyes. This kind of scum, casually torturing, was to seek revenge for Grandpa Bu and Grandma Bu's grandson and granddaughter. The group of 10 people, under Yin Qinghao's personal guidance, came to their seats. It was a seat near the front. There was Ghost Marshal sitting here. Yi Qing Luo and the rest didn't hesitate as they sat down. One after another, the distinguished guests arrived. Yin Qinghao, as today's birthday boy, how could he not accept everyone's blessings? After exchanging some conventional greetings, Yin Qinghao and Yin Yanqiu left together. I say, little Qing Luo, how long have you been in the northern continent and you've already made so many enemies? That's impressive. Zhou Mo glanced sideways as he teased. Yan Xiaoyi and Qiao Jin expressed their agreement. It was just a short distance. Those who were looking for trouble could go one round. They were really curious. In this period of time when Yi Qing Luo was in the northern continent, what had she done to incur the wrath of the gods? Yan Xiaoyi shook off Qiao Jin's arm and rubbed against Yi Qing Luo's side, holding her hand as she asked with a smile, Qing Luo, you really poisoned Yuan Zhan's only son? They had been in the northern continent for a few days. They had heard of this rumor. But they wanted to hear Yi Qing Luo admit it personally. On his first day of hiding his identity in the northern wave continent, he had already clashed with the little tyrant of the Great Joyce sect. Furthermore, he even poisoned her directly. Stirring up trouble, big trouble. They expressed that they really wanted to know what was Yi Qing Luo's motive for doing this. Xiao Qing Luo, what kind of enmity do you have that you, who specially disguise yourself to keep a low profile, would lay your hands on little prince? Zhou Mo narrowed his almond-shaped eyes and smiled seductively. This young master heard that the young prince was poisoned and went crazy, causing him to lose the ability to reproduce. He could hear the ridicule in Zhou Mo's words. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she glanced sideways at the displeased kitten who was struggling in his arms with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Her voice was very soft and slow as she said, the little prince you speak of is only 13 or 14 years old, but he already knows how to flirt with innocent girls on the street. Tell me, shouldn't he be punished? Zhou Mo's body stiffened. He lowered his eyes and looked at Kitty Li in his arms. Recalling Yi Qing Luo's smiling yet not smiling expression, Zhou Mo's evildoer face instantly turned steely green. You're saying, that lad, even took liberties with this young master's woman? Yi Qing Luo smiled but didn't say a word. Zhou Mo immediately went berserk, F***K. This young master's woman also dares to take liberties. Good poison. Who asked him to take liberties with this young master's woman? to make him impotent is already letting him off easy. Chapter 2542. Zhou seemed as though he couldn't hear Kitty Lee's protest as he lowered his head and kissed her ear. "Little wild cat, in future whoever dares to tease you, I will kill that person, do you hear me?" Kitty Lee's face turned even redder as she retorted in a low voice. Yiqing Luo smiled as she shook her head as she watched the couple fooling around. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes as she leaned back on the chair. In her mind, the words that Dmo Xian said to her in the Miao tribe's sealed ground surfaced. That handsome and peerless face had always lingered in her mind. Her mind was filled with, he said, he missed her. He said, wait for him. He said, that bastard man, he left for such a long time. It wasn't easy for him to come back. He left after flirting with her. He didn't know that this kind of flirting would make her miss him even more. Especially when she saw Zhou and Kitty Lee's happiness. And when she saw Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's happiness. She couldn't help but think of Dmo Xian. She missed him more and more. Student Yiqing Luo. A calm voice suddenly rang beside her ear. Yiqing Luo suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were clear. She looked sideways at the young man beside her and smiled slightly. Master Gui Wu. Gui Wu's icy cold gaze was fixed on her eyes. She didn't hide as she maintained her smile. After a while, Gui Wu's thin lips moved. You missed the overlord. It wasn't a questioning tone, but a statement of fact. Yiqing Luo laughed. Is it so obvious that I miss him? Gui Wu replied straightforwardly, the way you look at Mo and Kitty Lee is very fleeting. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her gaze fell on the top of her head without any focus, destroying the luxurious lights carved from luminous pearls. I don't know how far away, from the upper realm is from here. She murmured, her tone couldn't conceal her loneliness. Very far. Gui Wu was insensitive and didn't care about her feelings. If you want to shorten the distance between you, then head to the upper realm yourself. Easier said than done. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. The method to head to the upper realm is too much for me now. Is it difficult? Gui Wu's cold eyes looked at the side of her face. Since you said that, you should already know the way to go to the upper realm. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched but she wasn't able to curl into a smile. Gui Wu faintly continued, your talent is very strong, but, if you want to be promoted to the Heavenly Way historian and verify that your profound rank has reached the level to go to the upper realm, you still need to cultivate for a long time. Yes. Yiqing Luo was very clear about this point. No matter how talented he was, there was no way he could become fat in one bite. If he advanced too quickly, it would not be beneficial to his own adaptability and control over his profound strength. Moreover, in the Nirvana realm, where the spiritual qi was relatively thin, it was really difficult to advance to that level. You have the scent of a sacred beast on you. Gui Wu's gaze locked onto Yiqing Luo. Collect the sacred beast pearls of the 4 sacred beasts and you can head to the upper realm in advance. Gui Wu's words made Yiqing Luo's heart shudder. Didn't the upper Xian Hall master say this before? The news of using the sacred beast pearls to open the teleportation door to the upper realm, basically, no one knew about it. She frowned and suddenly sat up straight. You. She pursed her pink lips, what you said is true. With the sacred beast pearls, I can go to the upper realm. The cat-beast clan is a rare species, and they are very powerful. Every single one of them is extremely arrogant, and they don't put humans in their eyes. Hearing Ghost Marshal reveal Kitty Lee's true identity, Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised at all. Gui Wu's identity was extremely mysterious. Yiqing Luo could conclude that Gui Wu was at least the same as Dmo Xian, not someone from the Nirvana realm. The relationship between Gui Wu and Zhou was also that intimate. Zhou Mo took a fancy to Kitty Li. If Gue Wu wanted to investigate Kitty Li and find out her background, it wasn't a difficult matter. The cat-beast clan has the same acute senses as a cat, especially the daughter of the Cat King, the princess of the cat-beast clan. Not only her personality, but also her senses towards humans, are much clearer than ordinary cat-beasts. Chapter 2544. So, Yiqing Luo didn't quite understand what Gue Wu's intention was. So if it's you, even if you contract the 4 sacred beasts, you won't just treat them as your own battle pets. You will risk your life to protect your sacred beasts. Gue Wu looked at her without blinking. In this way, even if you contract the sacred beast pearl. For the sacred beasts, you will also try your best to protect the lifeline pearl. Yiqing Luo didn't know how to reply. She had to admit that what Gue Wu said was right. She didn't dare to take the risk. Not because she was afraid of her own death, but because she was afraid of those battle pets who had signed a contract with her. Once the lifeline pearl's energy was absorbed, the 4 sacred beasts would disappear from the world. She couldn't take the life of her partners who had risked their lives for it. Just as she was in deep thoughts, Gue Wu suddenly opened his mouth. In the northern continent, you will stay for at least another month. In this 1 month, you have to consider carefully. If you decide to choose the method of using the sacred beast pearl to open the transportation door, I will help you to get the sacred beast pearl from Qin Yu sect. Help her. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened. Gue Wu personally asked Yin Qinghao for the sacred beast pearl. Even if Yin Qinghao was reluctant, he would probably hand it over to Gue Wu in the end. But Gue Wu was bound to discuss the conditions with Yin Qinghao. Gue Wu, who had always been obsessed with martial arts. For her, to pull the distance closer to Qin Yu sect and spend his time on Qin Yu sect. Wasn't this kind of sacrifice a little too huge? Why did she feel Gue Wu seemed to want her to contract the sacred beast pearl? Of course, Yiqing Luo could feel it. Gue Wu had no ill intentions towards her. Suddenly, her arm tightened as a little head rubbed against her shoulder. Qing Luo, why are you in a daze? Sitting here in a daze, not saying a word. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways and met Yan Shaoyi's smiling beautiful eyes. She was stunned as she looked at Gue Wu beside her. I've always been with Gue Wu. Before she could finish her words, Yan Shaoyi interrupted her words and grumbled, you and Master Gue Wu are playing deep here. When I talk to you, both of you are ignoring me. Playing deep. Ignoring me. Wasn't she talking to Gue Wu about the sacred beast orb just now? Yiqing Luo's suspicious gaze swept towards Gue Wu. Coincidentally, Gue Wu's deep and cold eyes were looking over. Yiqing Luo instantly understood. Just now, the two of them had discussed the taboo of the Nirvana realm. Gue Wu had definitely created a barrier to separate the space between the two of them, so as to protect the content of their conversation. After thinking it through, Yiqing Luo immediately smiled. Nothing, I was just thinking about something and didn't notice that you called me. Do you miss Dizun? Yan Shaoyi smiled ambiguously. Watching young Master Mo and Kitty's lovey-dovey scene, do you miss the Overlord? Do you want the Overlord to show us some dog food? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. Ever since they understood the true meaning of the word dog food, every single word and sentence was hanging on the tip of his tongue. At this moment, an extremely cheerful birthday song sounded in the hall. The birthday banquet officially began. Yin Qinghao was grinning from ear to ear on the main seat as he gave a long speech of thanks, expressing his excitement and gratitude towards everyone. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to survey the surroundings. The entire hall was filled with people. But Yiqing Luo could obviously feel it. Most of the people's gazes were fixed on the people in the row. Chapter 25-45. After Yin Qinghao expressed his gratitude, Li Tianlan very quickly, various congratulatory voices resounded in the main hall. Yin Yanxiu presented his birthday gift. When Yin Yanxiu revealed what the gift was, everyone was filled with envy. The gaze they shot at Yin Qinghao was filled with a trace of pleading and greed. They had to admit. Yin Yanxiu had put in a lot of effort for this gift. 3 small jars of medicinal wine. It was made from top-grade medicinal pills and through a special technique, it had been brewed for 50 years. 1 jar was palm-sized and could be drunk in about 10 mouthfuls. But this medicinal wine, after drinking a mouthful, had the effect of prolonging one's lifespan and raising one's profound energy. What's more, within 4 hours of drinking this wine, if it wasn't for the rare poison, the drinker could achieve the state of being immune to hundreds of poisons. To cultivators, this was an extremely precious medicinal wine. There were already quite a number of VIPs who were secretly thinking about it. After the birthday banquet ended, they would ask the young matriarch of Qin Yu sect if there was any more of this medicinal wine. Even if they had to spend a huge sum of money, they would still be willing to get a pot. After Yin Yanxiu presented his gift, people started to present their gifts one by one. The scene became extremely lively. Fine wine and delicacies were also served. Various forces were also chatting with each other. The atmosphere was extremely good. There were quite a number of people who wanted to go up to ghost martial artists several times. But before they could get close, they were scared away by the cold air emitted from ghost martial artist. Some people also wanted to talk to ghost martial artist Yi Qing Luo and the others. But ghost martial artist's low pressure was too horrifying. Hence, Yi Qing Luo was happy to be idle as she munched on the snacks in front of her. Her expression was languid, as though she didn't care about anything in front of her. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She caught a glimpse of a figure hurriedly walking towards Yin Qinghao. That was Qin Yu's sect servant. Everyone's attention was placed on the gifts presented by the VIPs, or the forces who were chatting with them, or ghost martial artist etc. And in the main hall, the maids and manservants were walking back and forth. No one noticed the figure that was in a hurry. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as a smile curled up with interest. Her elbow was bumped by someone. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways and met with Yan Xiaoyi's curious eyes. Yan Xiaoyi knocked Yi Qing Luo's hand as she suppressed her voice. Did you see that? Yes. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head and shot a glance at that servant. Someone is here to add a good show to the birthday banquet. As expected, the servant walked to Yin Yanxiu's side and whispered something into his ear. Yin Yanxiu's face darkened. Yin Qinghao also noticed the expressions of his son and the servants. He pretended to chat with Yin Yanxiu and asked for the reason. After hearing something, his face darkened. However, he quickly put on a smile and swept away all the displeasure on his face. Just then, an extremely pleasing zither tune that seemed to be able to cleanse one's soul rang out. The sound of the zither was like flowing water from a high mountain, slowly flowing into one's heart. The noisy crowd quietened down in an instant. The sound of a piano. Where did the zither sound come from? The honored guests kept quiet and looked around, trying to find the source of the sound. No one saw it. On the main seat, Yin family's master's face turned slightly black. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly as she leaned back on the chair as though it had nothing to do with her. A good show is coming. Let's silently watch the show. Yan Xiaoyi was extremely excited. Chapter 25-46. The sound of the zither continued. Even those who did not understand music were mesmerized by it. Just as the sound of the zither reached its clearest point, a lithe figure, wrapped in a white muslin dance dress, walked over gracefully. She danced gracefully. Her slender arms were raised high, and the white muslin danced with the rhythm of the dance. The sound of the zither and the dance. One had to admit that it was indeed a visual and auditory pleasure. Gradually, the sound of the zither came to an end. The graceful dance of the lady became more and more gentle. When the last string of notes fell, the woman spun rapidly and stood firmly in the most graceful posture. She faced Yin Qinghao and bowed. East Below Continent's Lon Ling Newell respectfully wishes Lord Sect Master good fortune as vast as the East Sea and longevity as long as the South Mountain. A smile hung on Yin Qinghao's lips. His brows were slightly furrowed. It was obvious that he was very resistant to this lady's congratulations. He immediately looked at the first row of seats for distinguished guests. The few people in that row were all looking at the graceful lady who was kneeling in the middle of the stage. They all looked calm and fearless, as if they were watching a good show. He really could not guess what they were thinking. However, the current situation. He really had no way of forcefully chasing the woman away like he had done before. Good. 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 There was a burst of applause. Everyone was attracted by the dance and the sound of the zither. Those who did not know what was going on could not help but be tempted when they saw the beautiful lady in the white muslin dance dress in the middle of the stage. Thank you, Princess of the East Continent, for your graceful dance. That's great. Yin Qinghao could only go along with the crowd's compliments. I can't possibly offer you a dance to celebrate your birthday, right? Why did you have to chase her out? After all, she was the princess of the East Continent. Lon Ling Newell smiled faintly and had a coquettish appearance. My daughter is untalented and has shown my incompetence. It's good that Lord Sect Master likes it. Ha ha ha. Princess of the East Continent's dance is so moving. How could it be a show? Who was the person playing the zither just now? The sound of the zither has the elegance of a small bridge over a flowing river, as well as the tranquility of a mountain spring. It fits perfectly with Princess Donglan's dance. It's simply refreshing. Yuan Zhan looked at Lon Ling Newell and clapped his hands. He naturally knew that there were many conflicts between Lon Ling Newell and Yi Luo. Just before the birthday banquet started, he had heard many people talking about the friction between Yi Luo and the two princesses at the entrance of the Qinhua clan mansion. He also heard that Lon Ling Newell had been asked by Yin Yanxiu to leave the Qinhua sect. Now, Lon Ling Newell appeared here again. There must be a reason. They wanted to deal with Yi Luo and cause him trouble. Yuan Zhan didn't care that the girl was just a teenage girl. He had to work with her no matter what. At this moment, he praised Lon Ling Newell without holding back. Lon Ling Newell had obviously put in a lot of effort for this dance. The humiliation of being chased out by Yin Yanxiu had already disappeared. She was dressed in a white muslin dance dress. Her makeup was exquisite, and her eyes were full of charm. Every smile and frown had a seductive charm to it. General Zhan definitely knows the person playing the zither, Lon Ling Newell replied sweetly. Yuan Zhan raised his eyebrows and looked very interested. Oh. Who is it? Quick, summon it. Let me take a look. Lon Ling Newell bowed slightly. Her posture was alluring. Chapter 2547. Why is she here again? When Yan Xiaoyi saw Lon Ling Newell's face clearly, she frowned unhappily. Just how thick-skinned was this woman? Just now, Yin Yanxiu had personally kicked him out. To think that he still had the cheek to stir up trouble here. She was dressed so flirtatiously and danced so seductively. Her whole body was full of a foxy charm. Was she here to dance or to seduce a man? Yi Luo wasn't surprised at all. From the moment she was chased out of Qinhua sect, I knew that she would use another method to come back. Lon Ling Newell wasn't someone who gave up so easily. especially since this concerned her reputation as the #1 beauty of the East Wave continent. It also concerned her reputation as the East Wave County Lord. How could a proud person like her tolerate being chased out of the Chinyu sect? It's really like the old saying, a shameless person is invincible. Yen Shao Yi snorted disdainfully. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. The more despicable things are yet to come, let's slowly watch the show. Yi Qing Luo's words had just landed. Soon after, a deep laughter came from the entrance of the hall. Shortly after, a slightly plump middle-aged man who wasn't tall walked in. The man wore a bright yellow dragon robe and a golden crown on his head. His hands were behind his back, and he had an extraordinary bearing. The moment he walked in, the people around him rose to their feet and cupped their fists at him. Sovereign Balon. This person was the current monarch of the Northern Tide continent, Xiao Lingling's uncle, Xiao Ji. Although the royal family's status wasn't as high as the Qinyu sect, however, he was still the current emperor. Out of courtesy, Yin Qinghao still stood up and went forward to welcome him. Xiao Ji's face was full of smiles. Sect Master, happy birthday. You won't blame me for coming late, right? Yin Qinghao shook his head with a smile and invited Xiao Ji to take a seat. It's an honor for Qinyu clan to come despite your busy schedule. This emperor has specially prepared a big gift for Sect Master's birthday. I hope Sect Master will like it. Xiao Ji sat down naturally. His pair of seemingly gentle but actually shrewd eyes swept across the people sitting in the first row. Then, he said, Lin Ling, bring it here. At the entrance of the lobby, a slender figure quickly walked in. The girl was wearing a light yellow brocade dress and holding a zither in her hand. She slowly walked to Lan Ling Nuo's side and bowed slightly. Junior Xiao Lingling wishes Uncle Sect Leader a long life. Yen Shao Yi, who was sitting in the first row, opened her eyes wide. F***CK. She's also here. Calm down. Yi Qing Luo shot a glance at her and waved her hand. The both of them had invited Sovereign Balon over, so no matter how out of line they are, Sovereign has to give the royal family some face. She knew it from the beginning. Xiao Lingling would definitely beg Lord Balon to stand up for her. These two people are here. I'm afraid you won't be able to stay out of this show. Jun Qingwu glanced at the two people with disdain. Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders. If one comes, I'll kill one. If two come, I'll kill both. In the field, Xiao Lingling carried her guqin and walked to Lan Ling Nuo's side. This meant that the person who had been playing the zither was Xiao Lingling. He didn't expect this 12-year-old little princess to be so skilled in the zither. Everyone was full of praises for this little princess. Of course, there were quite a number of people who kept praising Xiao Lingling on account of Xiao Ji's presence. Xiao Lingling placed the zither by her feet and with a move of her palm, a medicine bottle appeared in her palm. Chapter 2548. Xiao Lingling's palms were fair. The jade porcelain medicine bottle in her palm exuded a sparkling and translucent velvet light. Just that bottle alone was enough to make those VIPs unable to shift their gazes away. That is a moonlight porcelain bottle, right? Using such a rare bottle to store pills. What kind of top-grade pills are those? In order to celebrate Sovereign's birthday, Lord Balon is so considerate to specially invite a Grandmaster Alchemist. What pill is in the moonlight porcelain bottle? The fiery gazes from the VIPs made Xiao Lingling feel extremely satisfied. All the humiliation she had suffered in Yi Qing Luo's hands had been thrown to the back of her head. She raised her head proudly and raised the bottle in her hand even higher. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes. Her gaze was fixated on the bottle in Xiao Lingling's hands. Moonlight porcelain. She had heard of this kind of bottle. It could be said that as a grandmaster, there was no one who had not heard of this bottle. Moonlight porcelain was carved from that piece of jade which had absorbed the essence of the sun and moon for thousands of years. That piece of jade was extremely huge. It occupied 1/3 of the mountain top. The entire piece of jade was emitting the essence of the sun and moon. A small piece the size of a palm. There were countless of people who had racked their brains to get it. But till now, there were very few who could reach the top of the jade mountain and get the moonlight porcelain. One must know that the distance between the jade mountain and the chaos slits was relatively close. If one was not careful, there was a possibility of falling into the chaos slits and going to another parallel plane, then dying in the chaos. Moreover, the jade mountain was filled with jade used for carving and refining weapons. Every piece of jade had a certain amount of heaven and earth spiritual chi. Naturally, it attracted many magical beasts to settle down here. The magical beasts treated the jade mountain as their territory. If anyone wanted to head to the jade mountain to excavate the jade, they would have to battle with numerous magical beasts. The higher up, the higher the grade of the magical beasts. Those who could climb up to the top of the jade mountain were few and far between. Currently, in the entire Nirvana realm, only the jade seals of every monarch and the jade seals of the 4 great sect leaders were made of moonlight porcelain. Some large families also had a few pieces of moonlight porcelain ornaments. The moonlight porcelain was the essence of the sun and the moon that had existed for thousands of years, and it contained a lot of spiritual chi. Carry it as an accessory. It could strengthen the body, transform the body, and remove poisonous substances from the body. In particular, the moonlight porcelain was carved into a medicine bottle. Nourishing medicine with jade. This pill could be sealed for at least 10 to 20 years without losing the slightest bit of its effects. They even brought out the moonlight porcelain medicine bottle. The Northern Wave Imperial family is really going all out. Jun Qingwu sneered beside her ear, "Little Qing Luo, look at how far you've forced the royal family." Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders, expressing her innocence. "I won't take the blame for this, I didn't do anything." She had no interest in dealing with these scum. Yan Xiaoyi rested her chin on her hand. "The moonlight porcelain bottle has already been taken out. Even if Sovereign doesn't want to interact with the imperial family, I'm afraid there's no other way. What the imperial family wants is this effect." Yi Qing Luo smiled faintly. "Xiao Lingling was chased out by the young matriarch of Qin Yu sect personally. This matter has a huge impact on the imperial family's reputation. In order to regain their reputation, the imperial family will not let go of this chance to express their goodwill to Qin Yu sect. So the Northern Wave monarch Xia Ji personally brought Xiao Lingling over." Chapter 2549. As expected, when Xiao Lingling raised the moonlight porcelain bottle, Yin Qinghao saw it. Yin Qinghao's brows furrowed even tighter. Subconsciously, he turned to look at Gue Wu, attempting to sense Gue Wu's opinion from him. But Gue Wu sat there coldly and indifferently, not even bothering to lift his eyelids. Cough cough. Yin Qinghao coughed lightly as his face was filled with a joyful smile. "Thank you, North Lawn Monarch." Xia Ji walked directly to the first row and sat down. Gue Wu was next to Yi Qing Luo, then Zhou Mo and Kitty Li. There were a few empty seats in the middle, which was where Xia Ji sat. Yi Qing Luo sensed that when Xia Ji sat down, his line of sight was faintly discernible as it swept past her face. That gaze was obviously filled with a cold murderous intent. TSK. Was he trying to stand up for his beloved niece? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as her lips curled into a meaningful smile. Xiao Lingling was filled with complacency after receiving all kinds of attention. Like a rooster who had won the battle, she raised her head high, incomparably arrogant. She gained confidence as she continued, "This medicinal pill is called the Heaven Returning Serene Pill. refined from a stalk of heaven-returning serene grass which only appears once every 1,000 years. After taking it, it can raise the profound energy and aid in breaking through to the profound grade. Heaven-returning serene pill. After the name of this medicinal pill came out from Xiao Lingling's mouth, the entire banquet was in an uproar. It was actually the heaven-returning serene pill. The North Lawn royal family's gift was actually the rare heaven-returning serene pill. No wonder they used the moonlight porcelain bottle to store the medicinal pill. Only this kind of pill, which could not be any more precious, was worthy of a superior medicine like the moonlight porcelain bottle. Even for Yin Qinghao, after hearing the medicinal pill's name, the expression on his face couldn't help but show some emotion. To any cultivator, the heaven-returning serene pill was a precious item which they would risk their lives to get. Yin Qinghao was the sovereign of Qinghua sect. In actual profound grade, he had already reached the sky profound grade. However, he had only just touched the barrier of the sky profound realm. If he had the heaven-returning nether pill, he would definitely be able to truly become a profound practitioner of the sky profound realm. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Monarch North Wave. Thank you, Little County Princess. Yin Qinghao waved his hand. Little County Princess, East Wave County Princess, please take a seat. Lan Ling Nuo, who was left out in the cold but didn't dare to complain, finally heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Yin Qinghao finally call out her name. Xiao Lingling was extremely pleased with herself. She placed the moonlight porcelain bottle in the hands of the steward who had come to receive the congratulatory gift. Then, she raised her head and puffed out her chest. She turned around arrogantly and walked towards Sovereign Beilan. Lan Ling Nuo, who was about to leave, paused. The zither at his feet fell to the ground with a thud. Xiao Lingling didn't seem to hear it and continued walking forward. Lan Ling Nuo bit her lower lip and took a deep breath. She bent down and hugged the zither in her arms. Then, she immediately caught up with Xiao Lingling. He followed behind Xiao Lingling. Lan Ling Nuo was so angry that she almost crushed her silver teeth from gritting them. She naturally knew that she looked just like Xiao Lingling's servant girl. However, Sovereign Beilan was here. The reason why she could be here was also because of Sovereign Beilan. No matter how angry she was, she could only forcefully suppress the resentment in her heart and maintain a superficial relationship with Xiao Lingling. She followed Xiao Lingling and sat beside Xiao Ji. She put the zither aside. Her thin dance dress revealed her fair and smooth neck. Chapter 2550. Lan Ling Nuo was used to making use of her appearance. She wouldn't understand the meaning behind Xiao Ji's eyes. She sneered a few times in her heart, despising Xiao Ji for trying to rob the cradle. She and Xiao Lingling were sisters. He was already Xiao Lingling's uncle. He actually had such dirty thoughts towards her. However, Lan Ling Nuo didn't show it on her face. It was as if she didn't notice the way Xiao Ji looked at her. With a pure and innocent look, she whispered something to Xiao Lingling. Because of these two people's dance, song, and gifts, the atmosphere of the birthday banquet also returned to normal. Many young misses of various forces also began to perform. For a moment, there was singing and dancing and laughter. Most of these heiresses were here for Yin Yanxiu. Yin Yanxiu was 26 years old this year. But he hadn't married yet. Yin Yanxiu was the young sect master of Qinghua sect, and also the future sect master of Qinghua sect. If she could become Yin Yanxiu's legal wife, she would be the future sect master's wife. Countless unmarried young misses tried their best to get a look from Yin Yanxiu. However, perhaps Lan Ling Nuo's dance was too beautiful. Perhaps Xiao Lingling's song was too pleasant to the ear. Yin Yanxiu didn't show much interest. They all clapped and praised together with the crowd. After a long time, everyone was a little tired of the aesthetic. As a result, many people from different forces began to think of ways to establish relationships with them. The Balon royal family was in the limelight just now. Many people from various forces came forward and asked about the origin of the heaven-restoring serene pill. And many people from various forces asked in a roundabout way whether the Balon royal family had any heaven-restoring serene pills left. Xiao Lingling was the one who presented the pill. Being flattered by so many people, it was inevitable that her childish nature was revealed. She proudly hugged Xiao Ji's arm and said with a smile, "All this is the credit of Uncle Monarch. Uncle Monarch has been arranging for Uncle Sect Master's birthday banquet since a month ago. Monarch Balon is really considerate. It is said that Monarch Balon and the Sect Master of Qinhua Sect have always been on good terms and are like brothers." It is indeed so. All kinds of praises and flattery greatly satisfied the vanity of the Northern Wave imperial family. Right at this moment, an astonished voice sounded out. "The heaven-returning nether pill. Is it, a pill refined from the returning heaven origin serene grass?" This voice was too abrupt. Many honored guests looked over. Prime Minister Sun of the East Water Continent walked toward them with a shocked expression. "Of course." Xiao Lingling raised her head proudly. "Uncle Jun spent a lot of effort to get that returning heaven yuan serene grass." Prime Minister Sun's body shook violently. Returning heaven yuan serene grass, the heaven-returning origin serene grass that he had bid for in the Southern Waves continent for 7 million gold coins, he had always thought, the returning heaven yuan serene grass was snatched away by Yi Qing Luo and that bunch of sluts. Unexpectedly, it was in the hands of the monarch of the Northern Wave continent. Could it be that Monarch Balon had already planned this from the start? She had long decided to let him be entangled with the Heavenly Academy's students and take back the Tianyuan serene grass. And shifted the blame to the Heavenly Academy's students. Not only did he remove his suspicion, he even got the returning heaven yuan serene grass. He had been schemed against. This thought made Prime Minister Sun feel even more hatred the more he thought about it. Yi Qing Luo, Monarch Balon and the rest were seated on the first row. Naturally, he saw Prime Minister Sun's expression. Chapter 2551. Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders, expressing that she didn't understand. Heaven-recovering primordial serene grass, one stalk every 1,000 years. Which meant that there would only be one stalk of this heaven-recovering primordial serene grass. Since the treasure pavilion dared to bring it out for auction, it was definitely not fake. Moreover, she had indeed refined the heaven-recovering primordial serene pill to awaken Qi and Qi Yen. This was enough to prove the authenticity of the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass. The heaven-recovering primordial serene grass that she had gotten was real. Then, the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass in Sovereign Beilan's hands, that wasn't right. If it was fake, why would Sovereign Beilan present it as a birthday gift to Sovereign of Qinyu Sect? Wasn't this slapping his own face? But, no matter if the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass was real or fake, Prime Minister Sun had probably pushed the revenge of snatching the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass onto Sovereign Beilan. He probably thought that the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass was secretly snatched away by someone from North Continent and then shifted the blame to Heavenly Academy. This wasn't too bad. At least Sovereign Beilan had attracted a wave of hatred from them. Needless to say, Yi Qing Luo had overestimated Prime Minister Sunday. Back then Prime Minister Sun had suffered such a huge loss in South Continent. In the end, it didn't affect them at all. Even his shadow didn't dare to appear. This was enough to prove that this Prime Minister's son was someone who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Ever since Prime Minister's son returned to East Continent, his days had become more and more difficult. In order to obtain the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass, he had almost used up all his assets. 7 million gold coins, but he didn't get anything. And he was even crippled by 3 grades. No matter how hard he tried to cultivate. His profound grades seemed to have stopped at Earth profound 6th grade and couldn't be raised no matter what. Now seeing Sovereign Balon brazenly presenting a gift to Sovereign of Qin Yu sect, that gift was the heaven-recovering primordial serene grass which he snatched from him. His stomach was filled with anger, as though it was going to swallow him whole. But, when he met Sovereign Balan's serene gaze, he wanted to vent his anger, but it seemed to be blocked by something. Does Prime Minister East Mist have something to say? Xia Ji smiled amiably, and his eyes were very gentle. But Prime Minister's son only felt that Sovereign Balon was threatening him. A chill ran down his spine. His tense body was so stiff that it was hard for him to move. He clenched his fists tightly, the corner of his lips twitching bit by bit as he shook his head. The heaven-returning origin nether pill is a pill that countless profound practitioners in the world wish to possess. I just yearn for it very much, so I'm just asking. This was the Northern Wave continent. Monarch Balan's territory. He had barely managed to gain a foothold in the eastern continent. How would he dare to argue with Sovereign Balon in his territory? Hearing Prime Minister's son's answer, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing. She smiled and put a hand on Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder. This Prime Minister's son is really a coward. He deserves to exhaust all his assets and pay for others. At this moment, Xiao Lingling heard Prime Minister's son's words. He felt even more proud of himself. Even the royal family members of the East Continent were envious of the North Continent. She could even trample Lan Ling Nuo beneath her feet. Just as he was feeling pleased with himself, he heard an extremely soft sneer. She immediately looked towards the direction of the voice, but caught a glimpse of Yiqing Luo's light smile. It seemed like disdain, like ridicule. That smile made Xiao Lingling's brain seem to explode with a boom. Earlier at the entrance of the sect's residence, the humiliation she had suffered, the humiliation of being pointed at. At this instance, her brain kept on churning. Chapter 2552. Swoosh swoosh swoosh, countless pairs of eyes were gathered on him. The VIPs were also attracted by Xiao Lingling's words. That's right. This Miss Yi was so close with Gui Wu. And she was treated as a VIP by the Patriarch. But they didn't see Yiqing Luo presenting any gifts to the Patriarch. That row of 10 over people. Only Gui Wu alone had presented a birthday gift. But Gui Wu was standing right here. It didn't matter whether he presented a gift or not. His presence here was a huge gift. But who was Yi Luo? No matter how mysterious he was, he couldn't be compared to Gui Wu, right? Gui Wu had presented a birthday gift. Yi Luo should have presented a gift no matter what. The VIPs were in a heated discussion as they were all curious about what gift Yiqing Luo had prepared for Yin Qinghao. But with the heaven-recovering serene pill, no matter what Yiqing Luo presented, it probably wouldn't be able to surpass the heaven-recovering serene pill. Yin Qinghao coughed lightly and was about to dissuade her. What status did Yi Luo have? He indeed didn't understand. But he knew that Yi Luo was absolutely not an ordinary person. His 50th birthday, it wasn't important whether to present a gift or not. The important thing was, because Yi Luo had come to attend his birthday banquet, only Gui Wu would come. Gui Wu was the best gift that Yi Luo had given him. Only, Yin Qinghao didn't have the chance to say this out. But he was stopped by a pair of slender eyes. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she blinked at Yin Qinghao, as though she was transmitting some kind of message to him. Yin Qinghao stiffened as he understood the deep meaning behind Yiqing Luo's eyes. She asked him not to show himself. This lady. What was she trying to do? Why isn't Miss Yi saying anything? Could it be that you didn't prepare any gift at all? Xiao Lingling stood up complacently as she finally had the pleasure of stepping on Yiqing Luo's head. Lan Ling Nuo lowered her voice as she tugged Xiao Lingling's sleeve. Lingling, Miss Yi specially followed this 3,000 Peach Blossom group leader to attend Patriarch's birthday banquet. How could she possibly not bring any gift? After a pause, she revealed an understanding smile. Moreover, with the Northern Wave Imperial family's gift of the heaven-returning nether pill, how could Miss Ye's gift be presentable? Just one sentence had demoted Yiqing Luo to intentionally riding on Tao Tao's momentum to attend the sovereign's birthday banquet. Everyone present was a distinguished guest. Naturally, they would think so. To think that a young lass would resort to such underhanded methods to freeload into the Grand Master's birthday banquet. His goal was nothing more than to be able to squeeze into the eyes of those large forces, or to be able to hook up with a few rich and powerful suitors. Although, this Miss Yi had a close relationship with the ghost martial artist. And he seemed to have a close relationship with the representative of the Heavenly Academy. However, it was hard to say whether he had done some shady business to gain the favor of those big shots. Hearing Lan Ling Nuo's praise and flattery, Xiao Lingling felt even more pleased. The gaze he shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with even more ridicule and ridicule. This little slut actually dared to incite Yin Yanxiu to chase her out of the Qin Yu sect in front of everyone. She was the most favored little princess of the royal family. What was Yin Yanxiu? Now, hadn't she still swaggered into the birthday banquet? Didn't Yin Yanxiu still have to receive her with a smiling face? Their royal family had gifted such a precious pill like the heaven-returning nether pill. Wouldn't the Qin Yu sect be kneeling down and begging for mercy? Begging for her forgiveness for their unreasonable actions earlier? Then she would be able to push all the winds towards Yi Luo. It was that slut who instigated discord between the royal family and the Qin Yu sect. In order to save the royal family, the Qin Yu sect would definitely chase that slut Yi Luo out in front of everyone. Star. Chapter 2553. Whenever he thought of that bastard Yi Luo being chased out by the Qinhua clan in the most humiliating way possible, he would feel a chill run down his spine. Xiao Lingling felt delighted and carefree. Uncle Jun is really thoughtful. He knew that it was the patriarch's birthday and started preparing a month in advance. Xiao Lingling hugged Xiao Ji's arm intimately and flattered him proudly. I don't want someone to take advantage of other people's power to attend the birthday party without preparing a birthday gift. Xiao Ji smiled amiably and touched Xiao Lingling's head. But he didn't say anything. He agreed with Xiao Lingling's words. The surrounding honored guests pointed at them and discussed animatedly. That's right, the North Wave monarch was a busy man. But when he found out about the sect master's birthday celebration, he prepared a birthday gift for her a month in advance. This showed that he truly placed the sect master in his heart. Compared to that little girl, he wanted to freeload on a birthday banquet, but he didn't even prepare a birthday gift. Furthermore, he even dared to strut around in the sect master's territory and behave atrociously. Many VIPs recalled the scene of Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo arguing with Yiqing Luo at the entrance not long ago. In the end, the two princesses were chased out of the Qinhua clan. The crowd of distinguished guests started to despise Yiqing Luo even more. However, he had forgotten that it was Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo who had provoked him from the beginning. Sister. How could those people say that about you? Kitty. Kitty wants to tear their mouths apart. Kitty Lee struggled in Zomo's arms. She was so angry that her eyes were red, and her little claws kept flailing. Zomo's large palm wrapped around Kitty Lee's claws as he hugged her tightly. Don't be rash, can't you see that Xiaoqing Luo isn't angry at all? Big sis isn't angry, but Kitty is. Kitty Lee pouted, her voice hoarse from anger. Does Qing Luo look like someone who would allow others to bully her? Yan Xiaoyi leaned into Qiao Jin's arms and raised her eyelids disapprovingly. She opened her mouth to take the peeled grapes that Qiao Jin handed over. Everyone shook their heads. Doesn't look like it. Kitty Lee calmed down, but her eyes were still filled with anger when she looked at the people around her. It was as if he couldn't wait to kill all those who had insulted his sister with his eyes. Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo were still trying their best to defame Yiqing Luo. They were determined to make the people from Qin Yu clan chase Yiqing Luo out in front of everyone, so as to dispel the hatred in their hearts. In the beginning, there were many distinguished guests. He was afraid that Gue Wu was here, so he didn't dare to curry favor with monarch Beilan. After all, Yiqing Luo and Gue Wu had arrived at the birthday banquet together. Gue Wu also alighted from Yiqing Luo's carriage. However, Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo had quarreled to such an extent. Almost half of the people present were pointing fingers at Yiqing Luo, as their words were filled with endless contempt and ridicule. Gue Wu did not say a single word. Even the sect master and young sect master who stood on Yiqing Luo's side didn't open their mouths to stop her. Apparently, he had no intention to help Yiqing Luo. As a result, many people became more courageous. Very quickly, other than the tens of families who were wise to protect themselves and didn't want to offend anyone, the other VIPs all expressed their disdain towards Yiqing Luo. Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Nuo looked at each other. His face was filled with arrogance and pride. Ha! A chuckle rang softly in the main hall. It was obviously a chuckle, but it easily suppressed everyone's soft discussions. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.